Okie dokie. This should be it. Oh, thank God they've got last picked for me. Right then. Let me just make sure I've got everything. We're good. Lasarate Doda. Okay, we are currently looking at the Yoi Flash Wolves. Maple there in the mid lane with a huge KDA. Looking pretty good after their win versus Machi, a team that TPA didn't manage to beat. Only managed to go 1-1 and pick up the tie there. Here. Nice little wave there from NL. So as we see the last three champions he played are currently looking like, as far as their carries go, mid lane and AD carry, they've got a few picks up their sleeve. They're going to be difficult to ban away. I think if the bans come towards their support Sword Art, the previous game between TPA Assassins and the Yoi Flash Wolves, a lot of it was decided by Jay getting caught by NL. NL was playing Annie and I can't remember, but it was Annie in the previous game, and you see there, playing champions that are good at getting catches, Alistair, Morgana, Annie and Thresh are also going to be there as well. It's going to be difficult to ban him out as well. So you've really got to wonder where TPA's pick and ban phase targets, because a lot of Yoi's Flash Wolves' wins are coming for, like, they sort of just sacrifice top jungle and support and make sure their mid and AD carry do well. Put stake on something utility based. Now here are TPA Assassins. A bit of a underwhelming performance so far. Haven't picked up a win. Well, they haven't picked up the 2-game win over any of their last 5 opponents. They lost 0-2 to AHQ, which is fair enough considering AHQ's form at the moment. 1-1 versus Machi and Hong Kong Esports. Then they lost versus Assassin Snipers. And then the 1-1 versus Logitech Snipers. So they're looking to break a long period without a win. And if they're going to do it, I think they have to pick stronger laners. The last game they played versus the Yoi Flash Wolves, in the second game, they had a goal lead until about 12 minutes. But when they started grouping and trying to teamfight, that's when they started losing. Looks like they're going to have Refrain in the jungle, as opposed to Domo that they had last time. So he should be an interesting one to watch. We'll see if this change makes the entire team better. I don't know if that's for both games or just for the first game. I guess we'll see how he does. Chowie in the mid. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm only taking from what the Taiwanese casters are pronouncing it is. But yeah, Chowie played Lux versus the Flash Wolves last time, and had a somewhat respectable score. He finished 4-1 and 3. But at the end of the day, the fact that he had no mobility meant he had to play so far back. He was basically relying on his ult. He just couldn't do damage. He couldn't utilize his passive at all. He had to rely solely on his spells. But it was good to see that he was trying to find a sort of, not cheesy, but an offhand pick just to throw the Flash Wolves off. I think it's going to be a huge upset if TPA even take a game here, because the Flash Wolves are sort of like, they've got a little bit of consistency issues, but they're pretty obviously the second best team in the region, whereas TPA are just plummeting. Ooh. Now UA, that's not the greatest KDA, but then again, it is the support. It's somewhat how the Flash Wolves play. They make sure that the carries are the ones surviving. They don't really care if anyone else dies. And we are into picks and pans of Varus, being taken away from Shawi, I assume. Could go to Lupin, but probably unlikely straight away. Alistair, huge priority in pretty much every region right now. That's just going to get taken away, especially for Sword Art, who's been showing up so hard on him. Him and his pick-oriented style play. There are obviously other supports he could go to. Let's see what else gets taken away. Thresh, taken from UA. I mean, every support is kind of a Thresh main, aren't they, at this stage? I wonder... I mean, we haven't seen Sword Art play Thresh as much as any of the other supports in this region. So that's probably just trying to shake up the champion pool of TPA. Echo taken off the board. That could go one of three places at the current moment. Could see it in the mid, could see it in the top, could see it tank in the jungle, but we're not going to see it at all this game. Taking away Rise, a blue side Rise ban. That tells me that Stake isn't much of a Rise player, because they could have easily first picked that. Either that, or they just don't value the first pick, but they don't want TPA to get their hands on it either. I'm going to have to turn the quality down of this because the stream is currently not being kind to me. Let's see what the last ban is here from the Assassins. There's a lot of like assassin stuff in this league. Like there's two snipers teams. There's Taipei Assassins. There's assassin snipers. Everyone just wants to be an assassin. Morgana taken away from Sword Art, which again is another champion that he can make picks on and that he likes to make picks on. So I quite like the bans from TPA. They obviously think Echo is just like straight overpowered right now, and they didn't want them to get the first pick. They do get the first pick Azir though. I mean, it's solid. I can't see anything wrong with the first pick Azir. There's not really, especially with the banning away of the Varus, there's not really a champion that TPA can pick that will really just completely counter it. But they do get Gragas and Sivir, so you can obviously see the engaged comp they're going for, but they do let the Nunu over to the Flash Wolves, and we all know how dangerous a blood-boiled Azir can be. We can only assume that's going to get locked in. And the Maokai, that makes perfect sense. Stake, as we were saying, being a very, not really a carry top laner. He's quite happy to get a tank, get something utility based, and just let NL and Maple be the ones that dish out all the damage and win the team fights. The Rek'Sai hover, that would also, I mean, that would give, yep, the Rek'Sai would give a lot more early game pressure. I think they're missing something, not going through the Nunu, but Karsa may not be as comfortable on that, so we have to take them. UA looking to take away the Nautilus. I think that's more to keep it off of Sword Art. I'm not sure how good UA is on Nautilus himself. Choi picks himself up a Victor. This matchup is... Victor can one-shot Azir if he gets in range, and that's like the key factor. It is really difficult for a Victor to get in range of an Azir because he's just got those soldiers, he's got his E, where he could just either get away or do too much damage to him as he tries to run through. And if all of that fails, he's got the wall. And this Janna is, if it gets locked in, it's not a very Sword Art style champion, but it's going to make it even more difficult for Chowi to get in. Vayne locked in for NL. So we're going to see some epic Vayne mechanics straight out of Taiwan. Wonder if that's a bit of overconfidence coming in, or if he seriously thinks it's the best pick in this matchup, because obviously there's a Nautilus there. I mean, you can dive around and condemn all you like, but you can't get a select target knock-up away from you. So they leave the top lane for the counter pick, mainly because Stake had already locked in Azir, so there wasn't anything bad about locking in Victor. I am interested to see how the Victor does, though, because, like I said, how is he going to get to Vayne or Azir through something like a Janna and even a Maokai? They're going to have to set a length, but that's going to be difficult. It is quite a nice engage comp if Rumble can equalize behind them, and then they sort of all bombard them from the front. There's nowhere really for them to run, so they're going to be looking to fight in jungle chokes. They've basically got they've got the equalizer and then the equalizer's little brother in Victor's upgraded Death Ray. So a very, very big team fighting comp coming in from TPA. They're going to look to force a lot of things. But if you look at the disengage on the Flash Wolves, it's not exactly bad. They've got Karset to help the lanes early. And then how do you run against Azir Wall, Janna Tornado, Janna Ult, and a Maokai? It's not going to be an easy task. Looking to force engages, but might not be possible against this comp. So, like we said, TPA looking to get a win that they have, well, a 2-game win. Honestly, at this point, a 1-game win versus Flash Wolves would be good, but they haven't picked up the full 3 points for a very long time. Flash Wolves looking to, well, I say try to catch up to AHQ, but they are so far behind. Even in second, they're about 10 points behind AHQ. AHQ been so dominant, only losing I think once, if that. I can't remember. I'm really interested to see Sword Art on this Janna, because every time I've seen Sword Art, he's been playing something like Alistair or an Annie, and that was his like mid-game thing. He'd just have a look for picks, not even like good picks. The last game between these two, he would find Jay every single time on Thresh, and he would just flash Tibbers, and they'd get a kill off it. And it seriously worked out for them. So let's see. And we're going to go for the Amp Tome start. And Maple, respecting the stronger early game of Victor, going to get himself a Crystalline Flask there and just hope to farm up for a few levels. Looks like both teams happy to 5-dot the map, cover their entrances, no one doing anything crazy, but also means that no one's going to see any lane swaps, and I think that's what Flash Wolves would want to go for, except they've set up for the 2v2, so maybe not. That's quite interesting to me. I would have thought that Flash Wolves would want to avoid this 2v2. But not by the looks of things. I think this bot lane is just going to be TPA shoving them in a lot. Shoving them under tower. Which means Casa might be wanting to spend a lot more time on the bottom side of the map. Get the buffs. Not the buffs. Small camp start. Is he going to give that to Morning? He is. Okay. So TPA giving Crux over to Morning. They've predicted a lane swap here, and they started double jungling. That's very interesting to me, actually. Because now they're going to see that it's not. Okay, so Morning does get level 2. As does Stick, and they're both just going to teleport into the top lane with that level 2. Bot lane. Oh, TPA getting the level 2 first. They're going to zone them away from quite a large amount of experience. Not much of it is dying actually. But every little counts, especially in the early game. They do have the minion advantage, so it is going to push towards them. Karsa maybe looking to try something super early here. Choi getting level 3. But does he put a point in his W? That's the important bit here. Karsa goes in and he burns the flash instantly. So I'm going to assume that Choi put a point in his E at level 3 to get the extra damage. Not expecting the gank. So that's going to make this lane a little easier for Maple. He's still going to be like bullied away by just Choi's damage in the early game compared to his own damage. But Choi has got to be very careful about a return gank now. Bot lane, looks like the push is currently happening as we thought. And Refrain maybe looking to dive. It'd be a very ballsy maneuver. Just going to take away those Krugs for now. Flash Wolf's happy to let this stay into their tower range. They're not in any rush to take away those minions. Morning playing very safe here. I don't think Karsa was spotted on the ward, but just how the lanes are right now. I mean, he could be bot, and bot isn't rewarded very much, so Morning just playing really defensively because he doesn't have that ward coverage, unless I think he might have been spotted by that ward by the blue buff entrance. He's just going to back off, take himself blue side Krug. Meanwhile, Maple gets the push in. He's going to get a free back off that. He wants to not be in lane when Choi hits level 6. It's a lot less dangerous because there's no flash, but Choi really just wins that duel early on. But now with the Fiendish Codex, Maple is going to start doing a bit more damage. He's also picked up a pink ward to try and make himself safer, so we'll see if he tries to play a little more aggressively in the lane this time. Meanwhile, TPA pushing in still. Not really with a CS lead. I mean, they've got a 1 CS lead. Although I suppose every little helps. Oh, 2. And I'll miss that one. Bit disappointing. I mean, I probably would have hit that one. So Maple actually zoning away Choi. Choi has gone back, picked up the Hex Core Mark 1. He's going to be evolving that E. It's just such a huge amount of damage. He also picks himself up a pink ward. Now look at this. An invade into the bot side. They must have been Karsa going up somewhere. Either that or it's very ballsy. Oh, Karsa wants to gank this flashless Choi, but Refrain is nearby, and with the wave pushing into the tower, they don't feel like tower diving a level 6 Victor, which makes a lot of sense, really. Now the Refrain actually with a level on Karsa. I'm just going to figure out that his Wraiths are gone. Wraiths. Razor Beaks. I am never going to get used to that. They'll always be Wraiths to me. Ah yes, some top lane trading. Actually, Morning's winning that trade by quite a bit. If he was level 6 there, that could have been very dangerous for Stake. Oh, Maple wins that one. Manages to take away his ward. And Choi's just going to cheekily take that one on his way past. Now his flash is going to be up soon-ish. He's done a really good job of playing safe and not letting Karsa in. Oh, Karsa actually getting caught here by UA, but Maple's there for the backup. Chilling Smite picked up on Karsa, looking to make some early game moves. It's just the Trailblazer for Refrain. So, bot lane. BF Sword picked up onto Lupin. to the Bilgewater and Boots of NL. I quite like that. Boots are going to make trading opportunities a lot easier, considering that means that Lupin won't have the movement speed to avoid the 3 shots. Ooh, that ward does actually catch refrain, so they're going to get timer for that. It's such a good pink ward spot. It's very rarely checked, especially in the early game, and it just gives you a great deal of information on their jungler. Because that not only gives them the timer for the red buff, but it also gives them like a roundabout timer for the blue buff as well. They must know it's up right about now. Let's see if they... Doesn't look like they're going to make any move towards it. Casa going into his top side. So Morning's already finished that haunting, guys. He's gonna probably start slapping Stake about a little bit. I have a Stake with the sustain of the catalyst now. And that extra HP and mana on level up, that's definitely going to help him there. Maple playing really far back, respecting that Chowie wants to fight him around about now. That Hex Core just gives so many free stats. Running low on mana though, and only with the single Doran's Ring. It's going to make it more difficult. Stake going in for the trade, realizing that Morning doesn't have well, didn't have over half of his meter. Is this move? No. Casa gonna Q refrain. Tell him to get out. Wants those wraiths this time. So a lot of resources being put into this bot side, and look, this is exactly what we were talking about. Lupin and Yue just gonna want to relentlessly push bot, and it actually ends up in the tower for them. Lupin low on mana though, so they're probably gonna get themselves out now. So nothing really happening much of this early game. Maple gonna get his back interrupted. It's a little bit rude. So Stake doing really well, I think, to keep the CS discrepancy. That's a lot of damage, actually. I think he took one tower hit there, which is obviously not going to help him win trades. I like that, smiting the... Oh, no, you're not going to get it. Please don't die for that. Okay, he has his E, but he needs to flash. Actually, the ult's going to come in from Yue. And that was such a messy fight right there. All for... He'd already got the smite bonus on the wolf. He should have just gotten the hell out. And he overstayed. Ended up having to blow his flash. And both mid laners blowing ult. Yue blowing ult as well. That was just incredibly messy right there. But Refrain knows that Casa has probably gotten the hell out of dodge. Tries to pick himself up a free Baron. And there is some vision for Flash Wolves. They know that they're on this, so they're just gonna give this up. I think they definitely like. You do not want to fight against that composition around Dragon. That's a surefire way to lose the game. Morning actually doesn't have Equalizer, so I assume that was used in a trade with Stake at some point. It's a nice pickup. Looks like Lupin and Yue, they're gonna back off. I thought they would they're gonna come mid and they're gonna try the same stuff that they did with bot, and they're just gonna go for that outer ring of towers. Morello's picked up onto Chowie, so he's currently doing a lot of damage. Hasn't picked up the Mark II Hex Core that we sometimes see them take that, upgrade their Q, and just become undealable within lane. Q a minion, you get the shield, you get the movement speed, and you go up and E your opponent, it's just so difficult to deal with. But he's chosen not to do that. Then again, Morelos is going to give him a lot more upfront burst, which tells me that they are looking to fight around now. Morning actually not finishing off his Sorks yet. Getting a little bit of AP, and it looks like he's trying to build 2 Haunting Geysers. But Refrain still with no Cinder Hulk as well. That's probably what's stopping them from forcing any fights, because it's not like they need to try very hard to force these fights. Sivir, Gragas, Nautilus, it's simply a matter of whenever they want. Meanwhile, on the other side, Morelos has been finished for Maple, and the Cinder Hulk has been finished by Casa because he's not gone Sightstone, so a little bit of a discrepancy between the junglers there, but other than that, I think the stats are definitely more for TPA, especially with that 1k gold lead coming from that tower. And from decent amount of CS, if we look, every lane is marginally ahead of the other, very marginally. Ooh, okay. UA, a lot more scared of Sword Art there, thought that he could have had all the backup in the world, whereas Sword Art was going full bluff, but that could have ended really badly for Sword Art. Good respect there from UA. Gonna clear out some tunnels, give Rek'Sai's mobility a little bit of a nerf. Sword Art needs to play careful. Puts the ward down and gets the hell out of dodge, because most of his team are towards the top side of the map. Vayne, for NL, been freezing that bottom side for a very long time. They're not looking to fight at all right now, and it makes sense considering the items on the other side of the field. Chowie finishing his Sork shoes now. I like seeing this champion from Chowie. I think it suits him. It's a lot better than it looks, I'd like to think. Oh, Sword Art. This time does have backup. Doesn't even have to bluff it. There's a ward around there. That's going to spot all 3 of them heading towards the bot side. It's not going to spot Refrain backing though. And considering NL just saw all of them on that side of the map, he was playing a little bit aggressively there. I think they see Chowie trying to move down and the hell out of dodge. Refrain doesn't actually finish the back. He finds a Rek'Sai though. Not too scared, he has a lot of backup. And like we said, they are looking to fight around now. Rumble finishing his Sork shoes, just going to make himself even more dangerous. The Avarice Blade on Lupin, trying to get that bank. Blade of the Rune King finished on NL now, so we'll see if they try and skirmish around there. And a needlessly large rod. In fact, the teleport is going to come in here for Stake, and he gets himself in the middle of pretty much everyone. Casa's actually getting bursted pretty hard, and the equalizers across all of them. Casa goes down, but so many low HPs onto TPA now. Maple takes a huge burst, but manages to find Chowie with his soldiers, and Refrain in the middle of nowhere going to get taken down. A really close team fight, but Flash Wolves actually coming out ahead there. I think that equalizer definitely could have been a lot better, but that needlessly large rod onto Maple may do so much damage. Chowie goes full double lift and decides to face check as hard as he possibly can. Instant teleport from Stake there. And look how low they get from the equalizer E combo, but none of them die. Good flash out by Sword Art. And Maple's just getting free damage this entire time. Refrain, maybe a bit of miscommunication there, because he goes in and his entire team says, no, we are getting the hell out of dodge. And it cost him his life. So 1 kill ahead, still a 1k gold lead on TPA, but this is what we were saying around, well, it's a little bit later this time, but TPA look okay during the laning phase. Like, they didn't really drop anything. They had a decent CS lead on pretty much everyone. Flash in by Yue onto Sword Art. He's going to get blown up by Chawi. And an equalizer comes down onto Maple. Morning, gonna get the ultimate away from Maple. So that was a much better pick from this comp, and just before the dragon. Really well timed. So that's going to actually give TPA a decent advantage here. 2 Drakes up. By the time of 2 Drake, it isn't really the dragon that's important, it's more the timer that you get for it. And Stake, you are the wrong side of that, son, but he's got a lot of backup coming. Does Morning know? I don't think he does. He's actually going to get taken down here, smited and soldiered by Maple. But the reply... okay, nice. Good ult there from Casa. Actually a huge barrel onto NL, but Refrain, he's been stuck at this by the turret. Great condemn there, and he's going to get taken down. What looked like a pick onto NL very quickly turned into a kill for him. And I think that was just again, bad communication. Oh, Sword Art! Police, you cannot get hit by that. NL deciding he wants to tumble straight into that vortex. The gravity field. It's all in good spot. That's actually a solo kill for Maple onto Yue. And this is a very scrappy game so far. Lupin, not much mana. But look where the kills are for Flash Wolves. Again, 3-0-1 onto Maple, 1-0-1 onto NL. This is exactly how they've won a majority of their games. And this is exactly how TPA have lost a few of their games. They get a decent lead. Well, not really a lead, but they play really solidly during the lane. And then as soon as the mid game turns out, I don't know what to attribute it to. It could be a lack of vision in the proper areas, but they just sort of fall apart. I think this one is a lack of communication between Refrain and the rest of the team, because that's twice now that he's died, because he's gone in and there just hasn't been the follow-up that he needed. It's often said that it's better for the whole team to make a bad decision than for half the team to make one good decision and the other half make another. Maple showing his Tokyo Drift skills. He's actually gone Nash's Tooth. That's an interesting build. We haven't seen this build anywhere in the West. It's always been the standard Morellos into either Rabadons or Ludens. So that's a really interesting one. Obviously Nash is giving him some of the stats he needs. He likes attack speed and he likes CDR to get even more attack speed. But you don't get the passive of Nash's on your soldiers' auto attacks. It's a really bad thing. A nice rotation here from TPA. They're going to end up trading that for bot lane tier 1. Tier 2 for tier 1 is generally always worth it. Now they have to make sure that NL and Sword Art don't just keep pushing and get a tier 2 of their own. Flash Wolves now with the slightest of leads, just about 700 gold lead there, which is doesn't really look like anything, but if we see where the gold lead is, it's onto Maple, and he was already doing a pretty big amount of damage. His early weak stage is pretty much over. I wonder if that's why the Nash's build is being used here, because it has sort of eliminated his weaker stage where he doesn't have too much attack speed. I assume with that build he's going to go with the W max, because it really relies on there being more soldiers instead of the bursty E max that we sometimes see. Lupin possibly getting caught here. The flash knock up from Casa. That spell shield is way too late, but he is going to manage to flash away. Stake teleporting in. Equalizer does come across quite a lot of them. Yue gets taken down, but that honestly could have gone a lot worse. Lupin, not the greatest of spell shields there, and look where that kill is again. It's onto Maple. That is the problem. He does so much damage now that he's just gonna keep doing that, getting even more damage. The TP reply was good from Morning. There was no hesitation on it. And I think he got to TP to the tower. Don't quote me on that. So his TP might actually be off cooldown slightly earlier. I'm not 100% sure though. But now it's starting to look like the scaling on Flash Wolves is going to be really difficult for TPA to deal with. We already see NL going for that QSS. Not really sure what he's QSSing though. There is a trick that you can do with knockups. You can QSS them. It doesn't stop the knockup, but then you can use, if you QSS while you're midair, you can then use mobility moves like Vayne's Q. So if she gets ulted by Yue, he can just QSS while he's being knocked up and then Q away. That might be what he's going for. But honestly, NL isn't the person they need to be worried about at the moment because Maple is shredding through that team. Look at that. He just straight up finishes that death cap. That's an interesting thing that we're obviously not on the patch where that's been fixed. But look at that attack speed. This build is really giving him a lot more mid-game presence. Which is really good because I think that's where TPA falls down. If you can out mid-game TPA, which a lot of the teams have been doing, that's how you beat them. And Flash Wolves showing that they can win even against a comp that is designed to just pick you off. I think the Janna pick is probably really key there. A lot of them have been a little bit hesitant to go in because of that Janna. So Dragon is up. That's what these teams are looking over. Flash Wolves don't want to let TPA get a third because a third means movement speed, and movement speed means even more pick potential and just the ability to run away in general. Movement. I love the third Drake. I think it's one of the most important ones. I love that movement speed. But it looks like they forced them out of there. They're going to be dealing with that tower placed by Maple, and they're going to get themselves their first Dragon of the game, which is just going to make them even stronger because this is the point. Okay, alright Maple, jumping the gun a little bit there. Maybe he saw Ghost. But this is the part of the game where that first Dragon buff starts to come in, because this is when you're starting to get a few items and it's actually going to amplify something. I don't think anyone on TPA actually saw the ult being used by Maple, so I don't think they're going to get anything off of it. Big wave in the top lane. Morning. Okay, wanting to ward Baron before he goes to get it. And we see the Righteous Glory being built towards for Refrain so that they can try and make a few more picks. It's going to be delayed though by that Sightstone. And honestly, you get the vision to make the picks, and they just haven't done that. I think this Sightstone's... I don't think it's a bad pickup per se. I think they haven't used it for it to be worth picking up. I think at this point it would have been better to get a little bit more tankiness in the fights. They're taking Choey, just face checks like a scrub, gets shuffled backwards. Is he going to escape though? He does manage to flash away. Puts the gravity field down. That's going to slow them down. And they're on the Baron. So while they chase away Choey, this is actually a really clever reply from TPA. It's already down to 3000 HP. Stake only now is going to find out that they've been doing it. How is your smite feeling, son? It's feeling good. Refrain gets it. And they all just get out of dodge. Lupin, you're going to have to... Oh, he doesn't have flash. Okay. So a bit unlucky from Lupin there, being the only one stuck. But that's Baron on 4 members because Choey actually managed to get away as well. Really decisive map movement there from TPA. The second Choey was caught, they just upped and turned straight for it. That's actually going to delay out the game a little bit, but that's not really in TPA's favour. Like, obviously Baron is never going to be a bad thing on your team. But all they're doing right now is making Flash Wolves able to scale even more. Spectre's Cowl picked up onto Maple. He really wants to avoid getting caught. I can only assume that that's going to be transferred into a Banshee's Veil. And look how difficult it is for Maple to clear out those melee minions with Baron. This is a really interesting build from Maple. And what's also interesting is Chowi's decision to upgrade that early. His perfect Hex Core. Obviously getting a lot of AP and mana from it. And now the W will pull people in. Oh, this is a TP play from Stake. He's managed to find a way in behind them. Let's see who he goes on to. It's currently looking like only Yue is there to get caught. Equalizer gets put across there, and NL is sort of split up from the team. But it's in such a good point. Maple does quite a bit of damage there to Lupin. So many auto attacks coming through with that Nash's Tooth, but in the end, it's just Yue that goes down. And I think this is defensible. No, there aren't minions. If they had minions, that tier 2 would have been defensible, but top and bot waves. Maybe some exit frags here from TPA, because someone's going to have to go and deal with both of those waves. They should be looking to pick someone off, but the Azir Tower makes it difficult. How long do you want to stick around for, though, Flash Wolves? That's a little bit risky. If they play this right, TPA should get at least the tier 1 mid. All they need to do is stall this while the minions in the bot. I'd like to see Morning be in one of those side lanes, because his teleport is up and he is one of the members with Baron. Obviously it's going to wear off pretty soon now. But a minion wave that big with Baron buff would just be devastating to one of the towers. As we see though, it just wearing out, and it's going to be difficult for you to get through that wave clear. All that damage going on to Stake, not really doing anything. Already finished the Spirit Visage, so Victor is not really going to be doing a lot until he finishes Void Staff. He actually looks like he's heading towards an Abyssal. Maple doing too much damage for him to look at these side waves though. An entire wave, like that entire bot wave was lost to the tower because NL had to come mid. Ooh, Lupin, you can't take that damage. Refrain, flashes onto Maple and gets the ult down. No one's really oh, I tell a lie. That save from Sword Art was key there. And NL's just going to tear the fight apart by himself. Chowi trying to do as much damage as he can, but he's way too low right now. Going to avoid the knock-up. But he's just getting out and running. Actually, a lot of damage onto NL, who condemns him into Casa, who manages to pick up that kill. Morning, I'm not sure if you're getting away. Okay, they're not going to chase. But they used so much to try and get Maple. And this is why I loved the Janna pick, because Sword Art pretty much single-handedly stopped Maple from dying there, just with his ult. There was a lot of burst from I think it was Chowi that managed to hit him. But at the end of the day, it's a 4-0 for Flash Wolves. And this is just the decision making in the mid game for TPA not working out once again. Refrain. Let's take a look. So Refrain goes in. Who follows this up? There is a knock-up, and it is Chowi off the side, but no one has touched NL. And Vayne, what she wants is like multiple 2v2s in a fight. She doesn't want that big 5v5 because she's just going to get outranged and crowded out. What she really, I love that, that condemn into knockup is beautiful. But what the Vayne really wants is to be able to like 2v2 someone, then take those out, then find another 2v2 somewhere else. She's just going to shred through them, and that bloodthirst that picked up. Veil on Maple means catching him out isn't going to be an option. And still no QSS picked up by NL, but As proof just there, they weren't going for NL, so does NL really need it? So it looks like Flash Wolves going to set up themselves a siege here. The Azir Tower has gone down. There was probably a better place for it to be put. Stakes off to the side with no teleport. It is up soon though. And as you can see, Refrain trying to get a catch off that because they know. But that bot wave starting to pile up. 40 seconds until Baron though. There's plenty of time for TPA to get that counter pushing for the objective. The fight for Gromp, Refrain wins with his percentage HPW. That's about the only fight he's won so far though. A lot of engages from Refrain have ended up going awry, in fact. At this point, I think TPA are wishing that he would refrain from engaging. Apparently, it's not in the name though. That's probably just like one of those cool names. You know when like Westerners get like Chinese tattooed on them and it means like chicken soup and stuff? It's probably what Refrain does. Getting caught again. I can tell you I'm not getting a tattoo of Refrain's name. Lupin, that's not the position you want to be in. That was that was really, really bad. They do manage to get that mid tower after so long, but they're gonna lose the Baron for it because they're just getting picked off. Equalizer, not gonna do a lot other than help them finish Baron a bit quicker. NL with that finished Blade of the Ruined King and Bloodthirster just shreds his way through it. TPA, they're gonna have to play really, really defensive now. And not the greatest amount of wave clear. They have, well, Gragas isn't exactly wave clear. He's not going to do anything to Baron. Equalizer can only be used once. Sivir, yeah, Sivir does have a decent amount of wave clear. Victor has an okay amount of wave clear, but the build that he's gone means that he's not doing as much damage to them as he could. NL, so confident right now. His entire team's close by. He trusts them to get in position to save him should he get caught out. Look how tanky Karsa is right now. Actually has a Randuin's. Not even going, well, the Frozen Heart obviously not being built on him because he's manaless. There's just so much resistances on the side. Dear me, that is a huge burst that goes in there. No one taken down yet. Looks like UA is finally going to go down. Lupin does... Oh, Lupin gets knocked up. That is a very aggressive flash from Sword Art on a Janna. Oh, triumphed in there. Maple looking to shuffle him, but had already been used. So, dear me, the attack speed coming from Maple is... He's almost just like throwing soldiers and then instantly killing. First game going to be picked up pretty dominantly there by Flash Wolves. And it was, at the end of the day, exactly what we said was going to happen. TPA with a decent lane. There was no problems in the lane from TPA, but as soon as moves started to be made, they just fell apart. Multiple engages from Refrain that just didn't work out at all. And Maple just skipping mid-game because of his build and because of the fact that he just got fed so many kills. We're going to have to see something vastly different from Type A Assassins if they're going to get a game. And I honestly, I just don't see them doing it. They're too... I don't think they could do it, especially with Refrain just coming in. Because we saw how much communication issues there pretty obviously were there. Refrain going in and nobody really following up, leaving him to die. But we've still got a game 2 to look forward to. I'm gonna give myself a nice break until that. I'm just gonna leave this recording though, so that I don't have to upload it as 2 different videos. Yes, I'm playing Fallout Shelter. This is insane. Oh, do we get to sit through the awesome Garena adverts? I love the adverts on Garena, it's so cool. Looks like we might be able to. What on earth is that? What on earth is this? I love these adverts, man. I am entirely confused.
General's jacket. 와우. 다대형이 점퍼를 얻었을 때는 제가 이제 다대형급의 선수가 된 것 같은 느낌이었어요. There is intake though. What can he do? Surely we'll be able to finish on point. He's actually just left it there. The invisibility. And they go down. 뱅가를 좋아하는 이유는 기동성이 빠른데 궁극기를 사용하면 그 궁을 대응하는. Dandy is starting to loop around. Here it comes. He's in stealth. There's the alert. They know he's there, but they don't know who he's on. He eats Uzi right away. Looper's just running around for chaos, but he might go down as well. Trying to get the kill on the corn before he gets out of this one. The lantern gets Looper out. 솔직한 마음으로는 그냥 저 잔디에 누워 누르고 있어요. Imp and Mata, such synergy in a 2v4.
Sounds like White was so good, man.
TPA 全部女性角色连接，开始写啊！
这应该很简单吧？
总共5个。
Oh shit.
的现场所有招安是在网络上收看比赛招安是，欢迎回到20尾杯夏季联赛，马上带来今天的最后一场比赛了。闪电狼先制点1-0领先 TPA 今天的 BO2 对决。
哇，那我们刚刚看到那一场的话，闪电狼前面算是有点吃了一点小亏，被 TPA 先拔塔，然后 TPA 前面几波的话，其实也打得算是具有进攻性，跟我们以前看的不太一样，有试图要在人家的塔下造成击杀，但是很可惜，在小操作上面完全被闪电狼化解开来。
对，在这个可能我觉得刚刚也稍微跟了这个队经理聊一下，跟 Polo 聊一下，说他的确就觉得说现在这个阵容来说，TPA 还有很多的空间可以继续的训练，因为大家也都知道台北阿加丁现在进入了一个比较大的选手空窗期，因为 Wings 之前其实一直都是 TPA 非常重要的核心，这我们在这2周的比赛其实已经讲了非常多次。那现在 TPA 的确想要找到一个最适合他们的阵容，然后继续在夏季赛里面来闯荡。那当然，以现在时间点来说，迎战闪电狼可能还有点太早。来看一下这场比赛会不会带来比较奇特的一些战术面上面能冲击闪电狼的一些核心呢？因为以今天的对战来说，其实我觉得前面 Refrain 的尝试起坡上面都是非常想要为队伍在前面打开一些优势，但感觉上配合上面还是没有这么的融入在 TPA 的阵容里面。
那我觉得你居然2个靠的位置都是新选手的话，这种情况是难免的，跟队伍的沟通还不是这么的融洽。
对，而且这一场其实如果 Morning 选择了一个蓝宝，我们刚刚其实看到 TPA 在 Morning 打打野的那个时期，其实我觉得是在整个 TPA 在夏季的辩证里面最有前期威胁的一个打法，因为 Morning 这位选手他自己的操作其实是非常非常的不错，也有非常多的教练以及这个选手本身都觉得 Morning 的打线能力是非常的好，所以他前期去做一些主动的事情的时候，往往能为 TPA 打到一些东西。但是
看到 Refrain 其实在闪电狼的时候，他的打法比较像是就是带着兵线去压塔的一个打法，并不是这么激烈，像是前期想要拿优势拿人头的这种 game 法。
对，这也是为什么在春季赛的时候，闪电狼更换了看起来不同的一个原因哦。那现在莫宁回到了闪电，然后他没有拿纳这种比较适合分推的角色的时候，我觉得 TPA 又有一个
It's alright. That's been dealt with. That was nearly disastrous. A bunch of raiders attacked. Then I got a rad roach infestation. Life wasn't looking good. Much like TPA's mid-game teamfights. Which really need working on. I mean, we probably shouldn't take away anything from the Yowie Flash Wolves. They played exactly how they should. They were happy in the early game to let NL specifically to let himself get pushed in and just pick up a load of CS and just rely on the fact that they knew that they had better mid-game and late-game shot calling and team fighting. Honestly, we did do good things from TPA that last game. Like, we saw that reply Baron, which was very clever, and we saw them get a few decent rotations in, trading tier 2s for tier 1s and things like that, but when it comes to fighting, they just look completely outclassed. We're going to see Echo and Alistair being banned away again. Once again, Flash Wolves being the ones to ban Rise. That tells me even more that Stake just doesn't play it. Yeah. They value Izzy enough to get first picked, as they showed in that last game, so they think TPA will probably reply with something similar. The same bans from TPA. I think they're not bad, but Sword Art just showed that he can play Janna as well. He did get a little bit over aggressive a few times, but a generally solid performance. Other than the fact, he did get caught out quite a little bit. So the Gragas Open, probably going to be first picked. Although we didn't really see good use of the Gragas. We already said that Refrain going in when it wasn't necessary was part of the problem last game. So unless they've managed to fix that in the 10 to 15 minute break between games, I think first picking the jungler might not be the greatest idea here. Siva maybe, but our Flash Wolves just gonna take away Victor, considering Azir is banned this time. Because Chowie didn't look that bad on the Victor.
角来说，其实还有蛮多只角色在这个
And it is going to be the Gragas.
包含了上路这边是茂凯一样先拿下来。
So,
这边我觉得
despite last game's performance,
特别的 counter，
they feel like that was definitely the right move. And they're just going to give the Sivir over to NL.
办法拿出来什么样东西针对呢？
对，因为现在神亮的确可能来打一套 TPA 上一场使用的阵容来打一个教学阵，那 TPA 这边就要有在自己的背后
Let's see what's
选择
up.
这个 Plan B 对不对
Cassiopeia, I'm not sure if the pick rate has sort of diminished,
赢对
but she's still open, as well as Victor.
TPA 这边要拿什么东西出来应战？
其实以 AD 位置来考量的话
And there's the hover.
路西恩或者是拿范，或者是拿库奇这样的角色，在韩国我们都很常见到。不过闪电狼这边
And
是反倒先
it leaves me to
选一下
worry
乔伊很擅长
about
的
what
这个
TPA are really
对，哦，那
getting here. After look at that, that's a
当然中路这边其实
Maokai Sivir
那乔伊最有破坏力的维克特
first pick,
没有办法
and all they lost was Gragas, and they've already proved by that last game that they can play against Gragas easily.
TPA 要怎么来出招了？
对这里的话，我是想
So let's see what they manage to pick up here. I wouldn't be surprised to see another Victor for Chowi.
因为毕竟如果有人
Obviously, being blue side means he's not going to get the counter pick, even if he wants to.
对，也期待一下 Lupin 是不是能拿出范来对决哦，因为以 Lupin 的记录来说，他是很少使用范这样的角色哦。
没错，不过相信大家都是 AD。
So interesting to see how NL does on the Sivir,
选出来
because she's known as like an AD carry that doesn't really do anything. You just sort of press R and your team wins.
他们原本的一个布局。哦，这边
Or the greatest carry, Callista,
这样子的话
being open. I think she was open last game as well, and nobody picked her. Interesting.
哦，那现在是先把蓝宝
But a quick hover,
拿下来，第二场的对决
and then they decide
要拿蓝宝来
a rumble. It looks like TPA are just going for the same comp as last game.
的确在
Obviously, they're not going to have the Sivir this time.
这些领先都不足以让后期的战局来到 TPA 的优势哦。
没错，其实 Morning 这个点要打开的
But
话也是
I'd like to see maybe a Vlad from Chowi
TPA 这一季好
to work with that
去滚动哪一条线
rumble even more. I don't think that Zed's going to get locked in.
他们的中路 carry 吗 ？Maple 要再度的拿劫嘛？这边可能我觉得劫并不急着选哦，因为以
Not while
一个来说我
Rek'Sai's
中
open.
路留给 Maple 是不错的选择，因为毕竟现在也还没有看到球队
And
这一场比赛
a pretty good performance from Casa last game on that Rek'Sai.
维克特给拿走呢？
这边如果要选一个大南加速阵的话，应该会再考虑补上一些这个强开性质的辅助来哦。那以目前的这些角色的话，
射
哦，
雷西嘛？
I like the Janna.
这里还是选真娜。
真纳
Because without the Sivir, that makes engaging on Flash Wars even more difficult. The only thing is, they're not going to have an Azir to be able to kite through the fight.
这个强定能力是比较差一点。
But I think Victor fills that role pretty well, so I'll be looking for TPA to try and take away that Victor.
是一个比较以拉打为
But then they've basically got exactly the same comp. I wonder what Lupin's going to play.
关键 TPA 必须要先把自己手上的牌给摊出来哦。
对，现在这个中路是再度的使用维克特吗？但以区域控制
I can't see why he wouldn't pick Callista.
这个前行冲击是不足以留住闪电狼，已经同时握有真纳跟西威尔的一个阵容哦。
对，这边如果选下两个没有
Makes
位
it
替的 carry 的话，我觉得对
difficult for them to
是蛮
lock down onto her.
所以这里
Especially if you get a QSS and just make sure that Maokai W doesn't really affect you at all.
对，我觉得中路这边是不是要补上一些控制？因为现在剩下
But again, any carries that Flash Wolves have are going to be difficult to dive onto because of that Janna,
跟艾希这样的角色可以做选择
which makes me not like this LeBlanc.
这里应该是不会，我觉得勒布朗会是一个比较好的。
I think the Victor's probably they're the best pickup that TPA can get out of this.
跑不掉。
If only to keep it off of Maple, because now Maple's going to have to go for something a little less good at running away and fighting. Because obviously Victor, with that movement speed buff, like, low cooldowns, like in those extended team fights, and you just put down the gravity field and make sure that no one can get through. So the Callista and the Victor are going to be the ones picked up there.
对，现在就是看超宇的这个万有引力装置释放的怎么样，因为最好的控制团
And let's see what Maple goes with.
到。好，来看一下
Varus banned away by themselves, Echo banned away by TPA, Azir banned away by themselves, and Victor picked up by TPA. It doesn't leave much up. Are we going to see a Zed? I don't think Zed would be the greatest pick. I also don't think Teemo would be the greatest pick, but we can only assume that is a troll hover.
队伍对于勒布朗的比重是下降的蛮多的、主要可能他的
Again, hovering the Z.
感的一个小弱。
没错，其实5.11版本之后的天空，我觉得勒布朗应该又会少。
对，但其实现在
I don't like the Z pickup for a few reasons. Namely, that Rumble is going to build his Zonyas early anyway. Victor will blow you up if you jump in. It's going to get locked in, so we are going to see that Z. Rumble building Zonyas, yeah. Victor, he's going to put a gravity field down on himself. And now with that 1 second delay on the get back for... on the ability to return to your ult shadow for Z, it gives him time to Q, ult, and EU, which is his E is instant on the point of origin. He is going to blow him up if he manages to pull off a full combo. And Lupin on the Callista are gonna dash away, build double lifesteal away. There aren't really too many targets for Z, especially considering that he can just get ulted by the Nautilus from UA. We'll have to see how this goes. Maybe this is maybe this is Flash Wolves flexing a bit, saying, yeah, well, you're TPA, we can beat you with anything. I quite like TPA's comp here. Only difference from the last comp is trading that Sivir for the Callista because NL managed to pick that up. Which means they're going to have a little bit more difficulty forcing the fights, but when they were forcing the fights last time, it just wasn't going right for them. Look, there's a lot of protection on the Flash Wolf side, and what's it for? It's for Sivir. And like we were saying before, Sivir isn't known as like the big carry champion. Zed will probably be miles away in the fight. I would have liked to see like maybe the new Jace. It's not that patch yet, so not really an option. But I think the new Jace would have been really nice with this comp. But let's see. I think it was a pretty good pick and ban from TPA. Although there were multiple instances where Flash Wolves could have just picked away the Victor, and I'm not sure why they didn't. Because you pick away Victor, what's Chowie gonna play? I think what might have been better for Flash Wolves as well, rather than a Zed, would probably be a Fizz. Because Fizz can actually avoid a lot of the damage that Victor would try and put down. Just with the right timing on his Trickster. And he'd be able to follow Lupin if he Trickstered. One, if he Trickstered the auto attack, she wouldn't get the dash. Because she has to auto attack to be able to dash. Two, if she did dash away, you can follow it with Flash on the way down, which is really difficult to react to. So as you're coming during the Trickster part of Playful Trickster, you can Flash and get the damage down. And it's really difficult to react to, but let's see how Zed goes. I'm interested to see it, opting for the Longsword 3-pot start. So he is almost anticipating to get bullied around a bit by this Victor. We are going to see a lane swap this time, initiated by Flash Wolves, and I think that makes sense because Callista in general is just not fun to lane against, but Callista Nautilus is going to be even less fun. So giving quite a bit of XP over to Morning there. XP from the Gromp and half the XP from the blue buff. Stake, Karsa, maybe looking for something early onto Chowie, who is very pushed up. I don't even think you can flash now. Gets knocked up by Karsa with the flash W, and he's going to get picked off by Maple. I think as soon as he saw Stig there, he needed to not flash, because he was just dead either way. All he burnt there was the flash from Karsa, which he's not going to use that anywhere else because it's a lane swap. He can't exactly go bot and try it, or go top and try it. Mid lane's the only place he can go. I mean, it does stop a return for the flash W. Yeah, the flash Umbro. But it also means he doesn't have his own flash to get away from it. Probably going to get his flash as Maple gets 6. But he's still really susceptible now. Let's see how much is out because of this. It looks like he's still going to be able to pick up a lot of that CS onto tower. TPA. Going to try and reply with a dragon as they have the bot side supremacy. Top tower. Going to go down. I don't think he's bounced that. I'd like to get another look. It didn't look like he was bouncing that wave. Still almost half HP on Flash Wolf's tower. And Sword Art is going to get there. They're not going to be able to get that tower. So that's just going to end up being a tower traded for Dragon. We'll see how that decision works out. Obviously Stake has a level 3. A lot because they left him in that lane to be able to get that tower, and also because he managed to get the assist in mid. Morning, getting level 3 off of these minions under tower. The overheat working out for him there, giving him nice bit of AP on his autos to last hit with. And look at this, Lupin is level 4. While UA is level 2. So, standard lanes now, that lane swap, not even lasting 5 minutes. But that was mainly due to Flash Wolves getting the tower as early as they did. Lupin here. I would expect Lupin, once the wave is a little more even, to start really trying to bully out NL. Yui is still level 2. That's a large level discrepancy. Stake, there is a pink ward underneath you. Maybe he saw it. Maybe he just didn't want to stick around and risk getting caught out. And look at the CS discrepancy in mid. So it looks like Maple has been able to use that early kill to his advantage. Already picking up a bilge ward and a long sword. He also gets a pink ward and a green ward, which just means that he's going to be even safer to just bully around Chaui and still be safe from jungler ganks. Which Refrain hasn't really seemed to be looking to do in mid. And again, I think every jungler's worst nightmare is having to gank like Zed or LeBlanc. There's just, it's just so frustrating. Refrain actually being invaded by Casa quite deep here. Looks like they're going to go for another kill onto Chaui. He still doesn't have flash, and Maple is probably going to hit 6 soon. But maybe they saw Refrain. Got the hell out of dodge. There's the 6 for Maple. So Chaui is going to be playing even more defensive now. In fact, not even showing up in lane until he goes under tower. That's quite a large CS discrepancy in the top lane. I didn't see that. The slow push from Morning, meaning that Stake hasn't really got anything. And I think a lot of that is because they didn't bounce the wave properly once they took that tower. Wow, Equalizer being thrown out. I think that's just so they can get the tower, but look at Maple. He's on his way up. And Chaui doesn't have 6, no Chaos Storm available. He's already half HP. They're going to have to get the hell out of dodge. That was... I'm not really sure what TPA were thinking there at all.
前面压，什么事也没有做，而且还把这一波兵线直接推出去了。
对，因为当然以 Morning 的例子
Interesting to see that NL has already picked up a vampiric scepter
但其实你策动了乔伟，这基本上
on
要来爬杀上路。
Sivir.
我觉得以 Morning 的想法，他刚可能是想说，如果你把这波兵线推出去的话
Getting the sustain in lane, maybe to try and
没有做到，等于是让他吸了很多兵。
avoid being poked out of lane. Looks like we're going to see a dive onto bot. Stakes already used the teleport, and Morning doesn't have equalizer as it was already used up top. GarenaTW's gonna dip, dodge, and dive everyone around. Lupin is still alive, trying to stay under tower as much as he can, but Maple comes in and ults him on about 40 HP. And they're gonna pick up 2 kills now. NL survives by flashing out from under the tower. And this game is already looking lost for TPA. 3k gold down, and their only saving grace last game was the fact that they had a decent laning phase, whereas this time 2-0-1 on Charlie, not Charlie, on Maple, sorry. Let's have a look at this. So does he knock anyone up here? Okay, so he does manage to knock Costa up, and he takes a large amount of damage and gets knocked out. Meanwhile, Sword Art keeping everyone healthy under the tower. Everyone flashes out with the lowest amount of HP. Maple cleans up that with the ult on about 0 HP. But the only saving grace for TPA last game was that their lanes didn't get dumpstered, and their lanes have been completely dumpstered this time. 2-0-1 onto Maple. I was not a believer in Champ Select, but it's clear that they obviously had a plan going into this, and it looks so far like they've executed it pretty well. Refrain has been completely absent. He just hasn't done anything this game. I mean, there was that awkward dive top, which just resulted in no equalizer being available for that dive bot. And it's already looking pretty dire for Taipei Assassins. And just look at it, because it was like a coordinated dive bot, yes, it's 4 kills, but it's also a lot of assists onto everyone. Look how many. There are 3 people on the side of Flash Wolves with 75% kill participation, and 2 people with 100%. So it's not like these were just 1v1 kills where the gold is only going to one person. They are sharing a lot of this gold and making themselves stronger just pretty much everywhere on the map. Stakes almost, he's actually closing that CS discrepancy pretty quickly. That was around a 30 CS lead for Morning that has gone down to an 11 CS, well 12 now, 12 CS lead. I'm getting flashbacks. The entire Flash Wolves team is on their way top. This is a little bit risky. Yue gets knocked up by Sword Art and then pulled back by Luton with the Fate's Call. He chooses to go somewhat aggressive onto Stake, but here comes Maple. He gets his ult down onto Yue, and he's probably going to go down. No! Somehow survives on the smallest amount of HP, and Morning now flashing forward. There's a lot of low HP bars onto Flash Wolves. This could have been a huge mistake. It actually ends up going a lot less bad than it could have. There were a lot of low HP targets there. Maple ulting. Refrain misses the E. Flash burning on the NL, but he survives again. So many of Flash Wolf surviving with just a sliver of HP. Looks like TPA are going to get this tower for their trouble, but they must just feel so unlucky right now. That is a good 3 extra kills they could have had, but have been saved by the smallest amount of HP. Really incredible. Maple choosing to use his ult on Yue there, that was not the greatest decision, especially seeing as he didn't get the kill. A nice heal from Lupin kept him alive. So maybe TPA aren't as down and out as I put them, especially if Flash Wolves make over-aggressive plays like that again. Gonna be an uncontested dragon here for Flash Wolves. No one, not on TPA, really around the vicinity when they chose to start that up.
这样就变成说闪电狼如果要派他们的 AD
So Lupin has himself a set of Berserker's Greaves and a BF sword. That's actually quite a nice spike right there. Not really a spike, but those are good items to be fighting with. Speaking of good items to be fighting with, Maple has got himself his Blade of the Ruin King already, and has an extra long sword on top of that, just to make sure that nobody survives on a sliver of HP like that again. Stake in the top lane does have teleport, and NL has popped ult. Not really sure why. I mean, they saved the tower, I suppose, but nothing really going from that. Morning, going top to pick up that wave. He also has his teleport. But look at Stake now, looking to get the flank. They have a pink ward in that brush. That's going to see him just on the brush on the entrance to their jungle, so they don't get caught out there. On the hump was down though, so probably not really anything going to be going from that anyway. Chowi picks up a blue buff, going to help him clear waves and keep Maple off him. You can see the amplifying tome. I can only assume that's going into Seekers, which will end up as a Zonya's, because that he desperately needs one of those right now against a Blade of the Ruin King Maple. But the longer this game goes, the more we see Maple's not really gonna have targets. I mean, he's got a big lead now, so the more they fight now, I think the better for Flash Wolves, but they have to be coordinated fights. They can't be whatever the hell just happened in top lane, because that's not going to go well for them whatsoever. We need to see a few more coordinated fights before the Zonyas gets finished onto Chowi and the QSS gets finished onto Lupin. In fact, an Equalizer coming down. Gonna try and zone them away from this tower while they get some damage down onto it, but Lupin, the one they want hitting the tower, is nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, Maple doing Z things in the bot by split pushing. He knows how safe he is using that Shadow to CS, and as soon as he sees that there's MIAs on the map, he gets the hell out of dodge. And look, the Seeker's finished onto Morning already, so he's going to be getting an early Zonyas as well, which just makes so much sense against the Z. If you're the type of person that doesn't build a Zonyas early against the Z, start doing it, because I think we might actually see this game why people do it. Once those two Zonyas gets finished, it pretty much removes the kill pressure of Maple on two of the carries. He has to go for Lupin at that point. And this is one of the reasons why Zed just isn't favoured. It's so easy. You don't even have to counter pick him. You can counter him with items alone. AD carries can get a QSS, and mid laners can get a Zonyas, and top laners can either build tanky or get themselves a Zonyas if you're playing something like a Rumble. There's just so many options. Not to mention that Mikhail's, I don't think, removes Deathmark, but it will give you a nice burst of health which might stop him killing you. So a bit of a long period of nothingness. As I say that, the TP from Stake comes straight onto Lupin, and he gets almost completely blown up. The ult from Maple does take him out, but he gets caught a little bit. Stake now really low, again getting out on almost nothing, and Chowi gets taken down by the Boomerang Blade. So that fight, Stake got to Lupin straight away, and he got chunked so hard that Maple, he was just doing cleanup work with that ult, didn't even have to ignite. That's what I was talking about though. Flash Wolves need to have these coordinated fights before the items come out from Type A Assassins. Let's take a look at that again. So the teleport comes in. I think, did he miss? No, he didn't. He waited. That was a good wait there. But like we say, Maple completely gets taken out. Chaos Storm doesn't really hit anyone important. Stake gets out on a sliver of HP, and NL gets untouched for almost the entire fight. It was good from Fate's Call there. I think UA, I thought he was going to get baited into using it as Stake was Wing in, but he did wait until he was targetable, and then used it, got a decent knockup, but by then Lupin was just almost completely annihilated. And look, Lupin's items haven't really changed since we talked about them. The knockup going down onto Maple there, stopping him from taking out Lupin, and it looks like they want to fight this. A flash forward from Lupin, from UA, sorry. Maple trying to do some fancy feet after he already takes down! That's a double kill in a 2v1 for Maple. UA thinking that they had the advantage. Equalizer going to be burnt, and Chowi's going to pick... Oh no, Chowi didn't get it. It was the Equalizer that pulled him down, but Morning's gone down, and there is so much damage down for the side of TPA. Chowi goes down, and it's completely gone, and Refrain with his first pick, Gragas, is doing nothing but body slamming away. He's going to get taken down eventually as well. And yeah, first pick Gragas, 0-1-1, has had absolutely no impact in the early game. Meanwhile, Rek'Sai for Casa, 0-0-10. A great showing so far by him. But Maple, right, okay. So UA, thinking his entire team is closing in, he goes for it, okay? He gets absolutely blown up by the QE, sorry. Then Lupin takes the auto attack. Maple actually dodges the E, and then, oh, the shadow is still there. Chaos Storm completely whiffs as well. Nice play from Maple, but you've got to pay attention to those shadows. Gets himself a Brutalizer. He's going to just be so dangerous right now. 0-3-1 on Choi's Victor. And I don't even think Victor was a bad pick. I think Victor was probably the best pick they could have gone for in the situation, without going for something completely outside the meta. I think maybe Cho'Gath as well could have been good, but Cho'Gath doesn't really see much play anymore. But just think, the natural health stacking makes him difficult to blow up. The silence means that Maple can't just go in. But we're going to have to talk about Refrain's performance in these two games. He just hasn't been living up to what TPA need. Flash Wolves going to set themselves up a death brush here. Let's play who gets to face check it. Refrain gets knocked up, and that means he's going to get everything thrown down on him. Equalizer goes down, but in the end just doesn't do anything. Stake tanking up all of the damage. Lupin gets ulted now. I don't think that's enough to kill. In fact, actually Maple gets taken down. UA is going to be the one that gets that kill. But meanwhile, off to the side, Morning and Refrain go down. Maple has a last whisper now. I think at this point, Maple's job is to just occupy enough people that the rest of his team will take them down. And 0-0-12 now onto Casa. This has just been such a great performance on Rek'Sai, showing up in mid to get that early kill onto Maple, which allowed him to just get completely out of control and get to this almost 3-item point. I'd say Brutalizer counts as an item. No one upgrades that thing early anyway, so I'd say we can call Brutalizer, Last Whisper, Blade of the Ruined King, Zed, 3-item Zed. Nah, it looks like they want to set up the same again. In fact, they're doing exactly the same thing again. Refrain. He's still just going in and face checking, even after how badly it ended last time. Slight differentiation in build here from Lupin. Gonna go for a static Shiv instead of the normal I always get those item names mixed up. Going for a Runans. Not going for a Runans, rather. Oh, that entire thing was a bit messy on my behalf. Age is finished for Sword Art. That just means that Maple has even more reign to just go in and try and destroy people. Meanwhile, getting resistances to deal with Morning and Choi. Refrain again. Face checks. Actually barrels towards him. Costa with the flash forwards. Not actually anything going right now. Lupin getting some hits onto Stick, but Stick's tanking up pretty much the entire team right now. And finally the kills start coming in as NL gets his damage down. Lupin is going to get blown up by Casa. No QSS finished yet. The flash forward to try and get it. In fact, he ends up going down. But the target... Oh, okay, so he flashed forward and got the ignite. I thought he was just flashing forward and trying finishing him with the Q. But they do get the clean ace. And I really think Maple's job at this point is to just cause as much carnage as he can before he does inevitably die. Morello's onto Choi. I don't think that was a clever move. He really needs... In fact, to be honest, at this point it doesn't even matter. He hasn't even been targeted by Maple. Maple's been going for Lupin every single time, who still hasn't got himself a QSS. I really think a Runan's Hurricane and a QSS would be doing wonders for him right now, but just nothing doing. I believe Baron took someone down there, so let's take another look at this. Refrain sort of gets caught, and then Casa with the flash knock-up. UA once again way out of position, gets pretty much completely blown up. Stake, look how long Stake stays in the entire of the enemy team. NL finally catches up, gets to hit whatever he wants, and then Maple Maple goes ham, okay? Hits the Q, gets the ignite. He goes too far back. His ult shadow was in range of the other tower, and scumbag Sword Art decided not to tank it. Let him die. And it looks like Flash Wolves picked themselves up that Baron. Casa with his first death. That equalizer's not going to do a thing. In fact, NL's going to stand on it for disrespect. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Maple being as much of a nuisance as he can. Yoi gets nothing. Well, he does get something. He gets completely blown up. This is a 4v5. Choi is already down. Lupin, you've been exhausted, mate. There is absolutely no way out of this for you. And Refrain, once again, body slamming away. But look, the ult coming in from Casa. He's going to go underneath. He's going to get the knock-up onto Refrain. The slow comes down from Sword Art. And the kill goes over to NL, and this is brutality. They just got straight up destroyed in a 4v5 while Maple takes down the inhibitor and the inhibitor turret. Well, obviously he's going to be taking down the turret if he takes down the inhib. But every single fight we see, I believe there were the first time I picked up on Casa, he was 0-0-10, and at that point Flash Wolves had 12 kills. Since then, they've gotten 11 more, and Casa has been a part of every single one of them. This is such a great performance from him, and Stake, to be honest, tanking up pretty much everything, every single fight. He's just been such a big presence in all the fights. And Lupin, that is just not enough attack speed. Some pretty all-star scores from pretty much every single one of the Flash Wolves roster. 9-0-11 on Sivir. 1-0-19 on Sword Art. It's not just Casa showing up, it's the entire team. Picking Sivir, then grouping and winning. And Sivir just looks unkillable right now. Between the spell shield and the amount of lifesteal she can pull out, and that's not even considering the fact that Janna exists, and there's shields, there's the big AoE heal, as well as a Locket and what will soon be a Mikhail's. I don't think NL is in any trouble of ever dying this game. See, slight overextension, just ult away. Suddenly that's down. Maple's going to go in. Maple's going to pick himself up one. He's going to jump onto Lupin and he's going to get blown up by pretty much the entire team. Maple once again tanking the tower. This time doesn't go down to it. Refrain is going to get taken down for the full ace. Sword Art walking past him, getting the ult down. And the kill goes over to Stig. This time Karsa deciding that he didn't want to be a part of too many of those kills. And it looks like they're just going to end. So what was a pretty dominating performance last game has just turned into an even more dominating performance this game. Look at that, almost a 20,000 gold lead by 30 minutes. And Chowi has just been a non-factor. In fact, pretty much everyone on the side of TPA has been a non-factor. They all have such similar amounts of deaths because they've all been in the fights and they've all been dying. Chowi actually flashing forward, trying to pick up Maple. That was going to be his saving grace. Maple finishing a black cleaver now. So, as if it wasn't already bad enough, now whatever armor you get, which is none by the way, it's a cloth armor onto Refrain, and the Seekers onto Morning. Whatever armor they have is just going to disappear. He's going to end up doing true damage if he gets a few autos down. Maple, he's going to flash forward behind Chowi, and he's just going to leave him to pop on the way out. You just can't be that far up. He wasn't even that far up. But when a Zed has Shadow, Flash, and ult, and he is 10, 3, and 4, all you're going to do by being there is make him 11, 3, and 4. So it looks like they're going to go for the triple inhibitor dream. Dear me. 25 kills NL has been a part of the 29. It just goes to show that they really know how to play this group up and team fight playstyle. Stake goes under Nexus towers as though they're nothing, and they manage to pick up Refrain. Oh, the flash knockup from Karsa catches two of them, but at this point they're too close to the fountain for it to matter. But they're finally going to take down the Nexus, and a exactly 20,000 gold lead by the end of that game. Such a huge dominating performance, and honestly it's exactly what we expected. There wasn't really any point of game. There wasn't any point of game 2 other than that sort of failed dive top where it looked like TPA even had a chance of winning. Game 1 they had a okay laning phase, and I would hate to be them right now. They look pretty downhearted. The clean 2-0 for Flash Wolves means that TPA have gone even longer without finding themselves that 2-game win. And it means Flash Wolves trying to find a few points to climb themselves back up and maybe catch up with AHQ, as rare as it looks. Okay. That was very interesting. Karsa, what a god, man. Oh well. GG's, guys.